Hey there, it's Jackson, and I got another incredible client success story for you today. My goal with each and every single one of these client interviews is to give you the tips, the tricks, and the strategies to help make your six-pack transformation possible. But it's also to get into the depth, the psychology behind the transformation. So what's going on in the head of somebody before they transform, during the transformation, and then also after they transform. Because I believe the psychology, the mindset is so much more important than the actual physical changes or the physical workouts or even the diet. This interview with my client Anthony is going to take that to an absolute another level. We go extremely deep. We get into the mindset, into the psychology. And this story is going to be like nothing we've ever told here before. Because unlike a lot of my clients, before I actually met Anthony, he lost 100 pounds and made an absolute unbelievable, mind-blowing transformation. When he was only 15 years old, he weighed 250 pounds. And he gets in depth about the psychology, what he went through when he was so heavy, how he dealt with that, how he dealt with the extra skin and the surgeries that he needed to recover from that. Then we're going to talk about his six-pack transformation, why he wanted six-pack abs so badly, what he did to try to get there. And then, of course, when he met me and he was able to finally make that final push and I was able to push him over the edge to finally get full six-pack abs. Of course, we're going to go deep into the specific strategies, the fasting, the supplements he was taking, when he was eating, what he was eating, the workouts. We're going to talk all about all that stuff. But we're also going to talk about the mindset, the confidence, all the things that came after he got six-pack abs, why he wanted it so badly, and then the experience that he had when he was finally able to go out, take his shirt off, and show the six-pack off, and how good he felt, and how amazing he now feels about himself with the confidence and the pride and everything else that comes along with the six-pack. So again, it's not just about the six-pack, it's not just about the physical body, it's about how he feels about himself now, the confidence he has, and his ability to go out, enjoy himself, relax, be his authentic self in every single social situation, and honestly, just really have that extra razor's edge that abs seem to give people. So I'll shut up, I'll stop talking, let's get to the interview. Here's Anthony. We're gonna do this interview here. We're gonna talk about your transformation, starting from even way back, even before you met me, and then kind of go through when you met me and then the progress you made from that point on. So why don't you start and just sort of tell the audience your name and what you do.
My name's Anthony Augello. I live here in San Francisco now. I transferred out here for work. I work at the zoo here. I originally was born and raised in New York, a Cuban Sicilian family, so a lot of food. So my childhood was surrounded by food. It was the cure-all. So my highest weight was about 250 pounds, and that was at 15 years old. So I was a big, big boy.
Wow. And
yeah.
If I remember correctly, before you met me, you even made a pretty amazing transformation on your own, right?
Yeah, I naturally lost about 100 pounds on my own. And that was me kickstarting myself, because a million people can tell you to lose weight or you're unhealthy and all those things. But until I registered that in my mind that I was a big kid and I needed to change it on my own, that's when I started, because that's what I think is the key of people losing weight and getting into this whole process is they have to be ready. It's not, they're not doing it for their boyfriend or their girlfriend or for their parents. They're doing it for them because it's hard. It's hard, and I see people with addictions out there like alcohol and smoking and stuff. I feel people should, it is an addiction. Food is an addiction. So I was addicted to food.
So how did you go about losing the weight before you met me?
I mean, I started off very simple, and this is before the internet and all this. Again, I was about 15 or 16 years old when I started the process. So I really just simplified it and cut my calories drastically. I remember eating a lot of peppers and onions and pita bread and chicken breast and egg whites. And then I was so big and my knees were so bad, and I was also very asthmatic. I couldn't do a lot of cardio, so I just started walking. In Staten Island, New York, I would go for about a 30-minute walk to start every day after school, and that's how I started. And then once I started seeing the weight come off, it's amazing how when you step on that scale, it's so gratifying to see it start going down that kind of pushed me to go forward, and I continued on. My initial weight loss was about probably 80 to 90 pounds from the get. I went through it. It was about a year of just hardcore, just sticking with it. And it's hard for a 15 or 16-year-old, when you're watching your friends eating pizza and all that, and everyone's having a good time, and you're sitting there worried about your diet. It was rough. It was a rough childhood, for health-wise and socially. It was difficult.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine what that had to have been like. But you lost the weight, you made it, and then you started to adopt a much more healthy and even more of like a fitness sort of lifestyle, right?
Right. And that's yeah. So I lost all the weight, and then I was kind of skinny fat because I looked very deflated because my goal was to lose the weight. My mindset wasn't on muscle growth at all. It was about just shedding those pounds. And it's funny in watching a lot of these reality shows about weight loss and stuff. I really feel for these people because there's so many steps to weight loss and getting fit and looking good, because it's not just the weight loss. You can lose 100, 200 pounds, and then you have the skin, the aesthetics of it. There's so much more. So when I see someone really starting this process, I feel them. I understand what they're going through because it's tough. And I lost all that weight, and then again, I felt deflated. I had a lot of extra skin. I actually did opt for plastic surgery after the fact of losing all that weight. And that's something I think people should really look into, and no one should ever judge someone for going through that procedure, because the skin is very aesthetically not pleasing, and it can also be kind of in the way. When you got skin hanging, you're trying to do cardio, there's chafing, there's all those things that people don't like to talk about, but it's part of the whole process. So when I see someone starting that, I could really understand what they're going through, because it's not just about, drop your calories, lose weight. It's about the whole process that comes beyond that. So, that was another thing. I was so deflated, I said, I need to start building muscle to fill in the skin. So I did a lot of work in that respect, and then I did have some cosmetic surgery after the fact to remove that skin, and I'm actually very proud to talk about that now. I was kind of ashamed at first, but now seeing where I've come with it, I'm very proud of it. And those scars I have from the tummy tuck and those procedures, I look at those as reminders of never to go back to where I was when I was, 100 pounds heavier.
So when I first met you, you were in pretty good shape. You seemed like a fit guy. You said you worked out quite a few times a week, if I remember. You were at about 15.2% body fat at that point. So, you were pretty fit. You were in good shape. And we got you down to about 11.6% body fat. So we did a pretty good transformation with you once I got a hold of you as well. But tell me, why did you walk in that day, and why were you looking for a personal trainer? What was it about where you were at? Because you were already in decent shape.
I actually had, prior to coming to you, I had 3 trainers before that when I lived in Tampa, Florida. And they were great. Everyone has different methods and styles. And for me, having a personal trainer, yeah, we know what we're doing when we go to the gym, but we kind of get into that muscle memory type of, I like this workout versus this one. So I wasn't pushing myself. I really want to step up and get a new trainer that's going to push me and do different things, a different style. And it really helped push me to that level, because at that 11% body fat, that's when I really started seeing definition for the first time. So each trainer taught me something different, but I appreciate each trainer and their methods, and it really tricks my body. So it gave me that push. And to be honest with you, you don't want to disappoint your trainer. So I knew I had to come see you 2-3 times a week, and I know you're going to look at me and say, okay, what's going on? Let's step on the scale. And I didn't want to be like, well, I had a cheat day or whatever. So it's kind of having that drive and that force, saying, okay, I want to stick with this and help push me forward. Because I have a lot of willpower, and I pride myself in that. But it's very different when you have someone, watching you, watching your goals, watching your progress, and being there as your support system. So it really helped going through that process with you.
But where was your mind at is what I really want to get into. Like, what was it about getting down to 10, 11% body fat? Why did you want to do that?
To this day, I still look in the mirror, and I don't think I'm ever going to get to that point. I think, I even went through the whole therapy thing of being so big, because I lost all the weight and I thought I had body dysmorphism. And I really did. I said, I can't look at myself and ever be pleased at how I look. And I hear other people complimenting my body and that I look good, but I never saw that. I can't compliment myself the same way. So it's funny, when I went to a therapist dealing with weight loss and all that, she says, it's not that you're dealing with body dysmorphism, you're dealing with trauma. So I was traumatized by being so big. I was traumatized by being the scale numbers go up versus down. So my mindset coming to you is I wanted that final push, that push to get me to that point, to knock this out, because it's draining. And anyone out there who's dealing with weight issues, it is draining. You think about it when you wake up, you think about it when you're going to bed. It's all day, every day of what you're going to eat, how many calories you took in, do you feel bloated, how do you look with your shirt off? And I'm a gay man too, so that makes it 10 times worse, because our community, unfortunately, is pretty rough out there. And I hate saying that, but it's kind of the reality is, you know, it's all about the physique and how we look, and that, granted, there's personality and everything too, but you want to go out there feeling confident about yourself. And I don't really care what other people say. I want to feel confident in my shirts and how I feel, because I know how hard I worked to where I'm at now. We're talking, I'm 34 years old now. We're almost 20 years in this now, which is draining. So coming to you, to answer your question, my mindset was I needed that final push, that one trainer that was going to get me to that point where I took my shirt off without thinking about it anymore. I don't want to go to the beach and say, oh, how am I looking? What piece of skin's folding out of what, you know, roll? I don't want to feel that way. And this past weekend, I was in a club and I actually took my shirt off, and I never used to do that before. So
how'd that feel?
Finally, it felt amazing, and it was all those emotions kind of flooding in at once. And my husband was sitting there with a smile on his face, because I feel bad for him. You know, I'm always the one constantly complaining about myself, and he's always telling me, "No, you look great. You look great. You're doing so well." But to finally just take it off and say, "Screw it. I feel good and confident about my body." It was an amazing feeling, and it made it totally worth it. You know, for all the money I dropped into this in 20 years, again, not only with trainers, plastic surgery, supplements, all the crazy dieting, if you really take into account how much money, time, effort you put into that, it's nice to finally have that aha moment where you're proud of yourself.
That's awesome. Honestly, like, I'm getting emotional just listening to you talk, just to be a part of your transformation and to have been just a small piece of helping you get there is like amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
That's awesome. So you came to me because you wanted to get that final push. You just didn't feel like you had the confidence, and you wanted to have just a little bit tighter, a little bit more physique, a little bit more definition. Well, I mean, it's amazing that you've actually gotten there. Let me pull up some stats and we'll walk through a few of the numbers as far as what you've done in terms of your transformation. So body fat when you first came to me was at 15.2. We got you down to 11.6, a change of about 3.6%. Do you know where you're at now?
Probably still close to where I left you at, probably 10 to 11%. I actually really stuck with it.
Fat mass went down from 28.7 pounds down to 21.6. So we lost about 7.1 pounds of fat from your body. We did that in it was about 7 or 8 weeks or so. Muscle mass.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, it did. You were definitely on point. Your muscle mass went from 160.3 up to 164.8. So we had about 4.5 pounds of muscle mass that we were able to put on. As far as your actual numbers of your body, we had some good changes. We had your biceps come up by about 1/2 inch. Let's see, your calves were up about 1/4 inch. Chest was up 1/2 inch. Shoulders were up 1 1/4. Your waist was up 1/4 inch, but obviously that's just the result of just overall gaining a little bit more muscle mass because your body fat did go down. And then your thighs went up about 1/2 inch as well. And your weight actually remained relatively close to the same. Your weight didn't fluctuate that much. It was just the composition that changed.
And that was a hard, and going back to, you know, my history and my past, is when you're losing weight and you're in that mode, you're so stuck on that freaking scale where it's about numbers looking, you know, I didn't lose any weight. So in our sessions together, you kind of have to switch your mindset to say, screw the scale. How do you look in the mirror? How do you feel? But again, when it's ingrained in your head as from so young that you have to lose weight on the scale, I actually threw my scale out. I don't have a scale. I just don't need it anymore, because it'll depress you, and you're like, for what? You get depressed and then you want to eat because you're depressed. So it's just, I got rid of the scale, and now I just go with how I feel and how I look in the mirror, and it's just so much better.
Yeah.
I'm not overthinking like I was.
I think visually, if you can be honest about it and visually look at yourself in the mirror and constantly take note of where you're at, that's probably the best thing you can possibly do. We do the body fat numbers quite a bit. We took a lot of body fat measurements with you, but at the end of the day, it really is about how you look, and then more importantly, how you do feel. And you're at the point now where you're really happy with the way you look, and you're really happy with the way you feel. Screw the numbers. They don't even matter at this point anymore. That's the most important thing. That's great.
Yeah.
So when we started working together, in terms of how we actually got you from the 15 point whatever % body fat down to the 11, let's just talk through that a little bit. So you came to me, we went through a pretty in-depth questionnaire. I learned a lot about you, about your habits, about your nutrition,
your history, everything, and then I went ahead and put together a comprehensive workout and nutrition plan. But that's only a small part of it, because I give lots of people these types of plans, but not everybody makes the kind of progress that you did, especially in that short of a time. So let's talk about what you were able to do on your own. So I give you the diet plan, for example. Workouts, obviously, you come in, you worked really hard, there's no doubt about that. But the diet is something that sticks for a lot of people. It's very difficult. So I give you the numbers, I say, all right, we're gonna eat for this amount of, I give you all the macros, the proteins, the carbs, the fats. Here's your approved food list, here's what you kind of should be eating, here's what you shouldn't be eating. We go through the meals, we talk about intermittent fasting, we go through all this stuff in detail. But it's up to you to actually execute. I can't make you do it. And so few people actually follow through. So how did you do that? How did you manage to do this?
Well, with so many years of dieting, it's been ingrained in my head, on how to do it. I've done the intermittent fasting before, and then coming to you, I was so happy to hear that you like that philosophy and you work with it too, because I feel great when I'm doing intermittent fasting. Again, that was my drive. And going back to where I started, if you're going into this just because you want to say you have a trainer or you have an event in a month that you want to look good for, I think it's a terrible idea. You have to be completely driven, because yes, I didn't want to disappoint you, but be trainers, there's financial aspect of it. You're putting into a trainer, your time, your money, your energy. You want to come out saying, I succeeded. I did something good here. So if someone just gets a trainer and says, I'm going to wing it, and just expects, you to do all the work, they're in the wrong situation. They can't be there. You have to be completely dedicated to what you're doing, because I only saw you 3 hours a week. How many more hours do we have in the week that I had on my own? Husband eats pizza, candy. I come home, and that made it a lot worse, because I come home and there's a freaking pizza on the table and I'm chugging down rice, egg whites, and sweet potato. It was horrible, but I did it for me. So I think the key to sticking with it is having that motivation and that self-drive to really just stick with it. And so, I've done some crazy stuff before. And I know it sounds stupid, but it means you putting up a picture, your fat picture up on the fridge, so be it. Sometimes I used to wear a bracelet that would remind me if I wanted to cheat or something, I'd look at that bracelet and say no, and that had significance to it. Like, no, I'm sticking with this. It's a plan, I'm going through it. So I could see a lot of people failing because it is very hard. There's so much temptation. I would also eat the same thing every single day. I didn't change. It was the same food to create those macros. So, and that helped. Because if you go out every day, you wake up, say, what am I going to eat today? And you're sitting on MyFitnessPal trying to figure out all that, you end up failing because you don't eat all day. You end up at a McDonald's or you end up at a Subway. When I went food shopping, I knew exactly what I had to buy. Every day I cooked the same exact thing. Yeah, is it boring? Absolutely. But the compliments you get out at the club kind of weigh in on that satisfaction you get for those couple seconds when you're chewing and swallowing that food that tastes so good. So I felt that gratification I got from looking good and feeling good outweighed the pizza. And I had my cheat day. And let me tell you, a cheat day when you're that drastic and you're intermittent fasting for 6 days a week and you have that one slice of pizza, it's freaking heaven, because your body, you really enjoy it. You eat it slow and you really enjoy it because your body's not used to it anymore. So it's all about, really just sticking with it and having your own drive, and that you have to, because if not, no one else can do it for you. And it's easy to fall off the wagon with the diet.
So you were doing intermittent fasting, you had a 1 hour feeding window, which is definitely extreme, but you did it. Yeah. You were cooking the same meals every day, so when you went to the grocery store, you knew exactly what you needed to buy. It was just routine. I need to get this, 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 and this. You cooked up the same foods every week. I assume you did your meal prep. Did you do it daily or did you do it weekly?
I did it daily. I just set aside a half hour every night. Granted, I'd cook a large amount of rice, so just my chicken and stuff, because I noticed cooking chicken and holding it in the fridge for a few days, it dries out. I just set aside, 30 minutes a night. It's all about a routine, really. At the end of the day, if you break it down, it's setting up a work-life balance routine, but throwing that half hour in there to meal prep. And let me tell you, that's the hardest part. Let me go back. Meal prep, when you're intermittent fasting and you're done with your feed window and you have to cook your food for the next day and you're looking at all this food, even though it's bland and boring, it's hard not to start picking at it. But it's, again, you feel so good though when you get through each day. That's what I did. I also looked at it, each day was each day. And at the end of the day, when I went to bed, I called it a success. If I didn't cheat, if I stuck with my diet, if I stuck with my intermittent fasting, it's just one day at a time. And it's amazing how it just, our time together, the 2-3 months we were together just flew by. So it's just day by day. That's all you do is set that 24-hour window, and if you can succeed and end that day at the end saying, I did it, you do it again the next day. It's kind of easy once you get it. I say give it a week at most to get into that routine, and it's actually, you don't want to cheat. You just want to stick with it because you're starting to see the results and you feel it.
Let's be honest, you're not a machine. There were, I'm sure, a moment or two of weakness or a time that you did fall off the diet for a day, or you had something you weren't supposed to. I mean, we're all human beings here, right? And how did you recover from that? Because sometimes when people have that moment, they spiral out of control. So how were you able to recover?
I think when I did have my cheats and I ate something that I know I shouldn't have or whatever, I think I beat myself up so bad about it that it almost drove me to do well again the following day. And that's, I think, is key, is like, okay, you are human, you are going to fall off the wagon. So let's say a piece of pizza, the next day I wouldn't say I'm going to starve myself completely the whole day to make up for it. No, the next day you wake up, it's a brand new day, you just start right over again. I go right back to my diet plan because it almost, in a way, was therapeutic to cheat. And that's why I look in cheat meals and stuff, I'm like, it's good to have them because not only do you feel bad mentally, physically I feel like crap. After I ate some greasy pizza or something, my body was so not used to processing that anymore, and I was eating so clean that when you're sitting toilet for 2 hours. Do you really want to do that again? I'm just being frank. But I just kind of taught myself, like, it really kind of wasn't worth it. So yeah, I did fall off every once in a while, and I would come home and eat that slice of pizza that my husband had on the counter. And then I just kind of, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the way I felt mentally, physically, and I would go another 6-7 days before I'd even think about having something that was off my diet. I think, honestly, the whole process of this whole losing weight, getting healthy, it's 85% mental. I mean, really, because our workouts were tough. You pushed me, but that wasn't the hardest part of it. The hardest part was really sticking to the diet and really driving myself and continuing forward, because the workout part I found therapeutic. We had a good time doing it. I felt we got good workouts in there. So I didn't dread that hour every time we trained.
As far as the workouts were concerned, what did you like? What didn't you like?
It's funny. It was actually humbling working out with you, because when I would go to the gym on my own, I can curl, ungodly weight. And was I doing it right? Probably not. I was just throwing weights around, and it was muscle memory. So a lot of the workout, I was always at the cable machine because I love cables for chest and all that. And then
Who doesn't?
You're giving me like 10-pound weights, and I'm sitting there dying, cursing you out at 10-pound weights, because you made me really focus on the form. You changed it up. I like how you did these mini circuits where it wasn't just one muscle group. That's another thing.
Yep, we were doing MRTs.
With bicep back, triceps, chest. I was so stuck in that mode that with you were having me doing legs, back, pretty much a whole body workout. My body was not liking you for that because I just wasn't used to it. So you pushed me to do something that I normally wouldn't do, that was against the grain from my norm. It was very humbling. Like I said, we didn't push a lot of weight. I was not pushing a lot of weight. It was all about the form, and you had me going that full hour. I mean, when you put those bands around my feet and had me walk back and forth, again, I was cursing your name, and it was a freaking rubber band on my feet. So And that's I think something that's so important going into any trainer. But you're intimidating. I'm going to say this right away. Before I met you, you see your picture. Well, yeah, they look at you and you got that physique that everyone's trying to achieve. Let's be honest here. Don't let it get to your head. But well, you already did. We had this conversation. But so you meet this person, you're like, oh shit, I'm going to have to deal with this person. How are they going to be? Are they cocky? And the second I met you, kind of squashed that, and we had good conversations. We laughed, but at the same time, we stayed on point with it. I could be honest with you on how I was feeling. Like it was a very comfortable situation to work out with you, because I think, again, when you look at pictures and you don't get to know the person first, a lot of people would shy away from that type of trainer. And I came into it already physically fit. For someone coming into this that isn't fit and is really getting started, they don't want to feel bad or embarrassed. And I did not feel that with you. You're like, okay, yeah, I got this, but let's make it happen. I'll tell you how to get to this point or to make you achieve your goals. So and I remember when I looked at your website, I was looking for those testimonials to say, like, is this guy an ass? Like, how am I going to work with this guy? How's his demeanor? And I was the second I met you, you're such a cool guy that we got along great. And I felt like it was a good team effort to get me where I needed to be. Yeah, it was a good experience, like straight through right across the board. It was a good experience.
Yeah, so we did a lot of MRT circuits, full body stuff. We were hitting legs, chest, back, you know, just everything. And that's why you got those results so quickly, going from what you were doing to what we started doing. All of a sudden you're doing full body workouts, you're burning a ton more calories. That's going to give you that metabolic boost after the workouts. And then when you're combining that with the IF you're doing, I mean, it's just unstoppable.
It was a trifecta. It worked really well, and I felt great. And I'm still doing it. And you know, a lot of people might ask, why are you not still with the trainer? If I had the funds to do it, and I think you're very reasonable, just to put that out there. But it's not an easy thing, and in the long term, it can really add up.
It's an investment. It's a big investment.
I think a good trainer is one that sets you up to succeed, that you can do it on your own. And that's kind of why I'm here now. When you call me to do this, I said, absolutely, because you set me up to succeed. So yes, if I can afford a trainer 3 days a week, I do it for the rest of my life. But the reality is, the way you've kind of reprogrammed my mind on how to eat, on how to work out. I've been doing full body workouts since I stopped working out with you on my own. I've been doing the same process, the same routines, that full body, high intensity. Doesn't matter how much weight you're pushing. It's kept me kind of on the board of where I'm at with my progress and how I'm feeling and how I'm looking. So you really did reprogram me. And again, that's a good trainer. A trainer to say, listen, I know the reality is you can't do this for life, but I could really set you up with the tools you need to move forward. That's where I really credit a lot of that to you, because you really did reprogram. Because I was stuck in that rut. You know, go to the gym 3 times a week, push it, go home, and that's it type thing. Now you really pushed it, changed it up for me. I'm doing a lot more legs. I hated doing legs. My knees are bad. I shied away from it. Now I'm doing more legs than I did before. So,
well, the legs are great for obviously the extra calorie burn, but honestly, you came in mentioning that was one of your weaknesses, and my whole thing is like, attack the weakness, right? Let's take that weakness and maybe not make it our strength, but at least overcome it so it's not debilitating towards us. Yeah, I mean, this is all just amazing, inspiring stuff. So let's say you were sitting down with somebody who's thinking about going through their own transformation, whether they're, you know, already pretty overweight, or even if there's somebody who's like you were, coming to me at 15, 16, 17% body fat, and they just want to get to that ideal, I can take my shirt off on the beach physique without having a care in the world and a ton of confidence. What would you say to that person? Like, what would you say? Like, get your mind right, get the workouts right. What do you say?
So I would tell someone, make sure you're in the right state of mind. Make sure you really want to do this and push yourself, because it's not just going to a trainer for a couple times a week. You have to push yourself. Like I said, 85% is going to be when you're standing in that kitchen, opening that refrigerator on your day off, you know, 50 times a day looking for food. You got to reprogram your mind and give yourself that goal and say, you know, I want to feel good, and you can. Look at me. I was huge. I mean, I wish I could show you my before pictures right now. I was so huge, and I was so insecure about myself. And now to look at me now, and I walk down the street and people are turning their heads, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant, because I feel like it's the ugly duckling syndrome. I don't regret being big as a child at all, because I gained a great personality, a great sense of humor from that. I wouldn't change that. And I don't like my scars and my stretch marks and everything, but again, they're reminders. So trying to go back, I don't want to veer off again, but I would tell someone, if your head's in the right place, then go for it. Don't hesitate, because yeah, it sucks getting started. That first week, I'm not going to lie, my legs hurt so bad, and I have a physical job. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't even sit on the toilet without cursing your name, because my legs hurt so bad. But after that first week came by, I was on such a high, I could not wait to get back into that gym and to continue to see the progress, because it will change your body. No matter what, if you have one of those bodies like, oh, I can't, no matter how hard I try, it's amazing. I never saw abs before, and I saw abs when we were working out, and I was so ecstatic about it. It wasn't a six-pack, because I had nothing. I had no definition. All of a sudden, I started seeing lines, and I'm like, what's happening here? And I could not believe that it was the same person I was looking at in the mirror, when so many years back, I was this monstrosity with bigger boobs than my mom. And here I am, look at these things. I'm proud of these.
You should be. You worked hard for them.
I did. You work hard, and it really does pay off. I know it sounds so cliche, and this is probably something you'd hear a million people say, but it's true. I'm a living example of it. I was a big kid, and here I am at 34 years old, finally feeling confident about myself. And it just echoes. It echoes. When you feel confident about yourself and you feel good, it echoes in your personality, your work relationships, your home relationships with your significant others, because that confidence really just kind of echoes across the board. It makes you just a better person. It's
Of
not
course.
about the physique and being plastic and being, superficial. It really does help your mindset when you feel good about yourself.
See, I think the mind is definitely so much more important than the body and all this, because
without a doubt.
like you said, reprogramming your mind. I have worked with quite a few clients before who just can't get the mind right, and then somehow or another they always end up sabotaging themselves or doing something, and they'll be like, well, I'm following everything you're saying, but it just still isn't happening. There's just something up here that needs to switch. And sometimes that can happen through seeing some results and getting more motivated and being inspired. But yeah, it's that reprogramming of the mind that has to happen, of going from like, I'm fat or I'm obese or I'm overweight or I'll never have a six pack, to like, wow, look at me, like I have a six pack, like this is me. I'm an athlete, I'm whatever, I'm hot.
Yeah, it's a really good feeling. And again, it's not about, I've seen a lot of heavyset people, and I've actually envied them when I go to a beach and I see someone who's not physically fit but has the confidence to take their shirt off. I don't sit there and look at their body. I look at them and actually envy their confidence. And I say, God, I wish I had that. And here I am. I look good. I feel good. But I would kill to have the confidence of one of those people that just rip their shirt off and say, hey, this is me, and accept me for who I am. I think that's a great thing. So it's not all about how you look per se, because you can have someone really go into this process and not get the big chest and the ripped up abs, but they feel better about themselves. You might not get that ripped up thing. That's not for everyone. You don't have to have all of that just to feel good about yourself.
No, you don't.
You have a little bit of a gut, but you're still healthy. And it's amazing how eating clean and all that can really just make you feel so much better about yourself.
Well, this is definitely great stuff. Any last thing you want to say to somebody out there, or?
I'll tell anyone thinking about getting you as a trainer, just take it from me. Don't look at it as, yes, Jackson's body is amazing. We all want to have that body and we want to achieve that. But at the end of the day, it's all about getting started, just biting the bullet, getting in there, trying it. And when you look at the financial side of it, again, trainers, they're not cheap, but you're investing in your body. If you're going to invest in a car, if you're going to invest in, the only thing you own is your body. So if you're going to invest in anything, don't feel bad about investing in your body, because it's the only thing you truly own. So I know, again, it might sound cheesy, but it's so true. That's how I told myself, because I don't make a lot of money. But if I'm going to put this money into something, why not put it into me? You can't put a price on self-confidence. You can't put a price on feeling good. You can't put a price on when someone compliments you and says, hey, you look really good. What do you do? How do you get that chest that way and all that? It's such a great feeling, and you cannot put a dollar sign on it. So at no point did I regret when I swiped that credit card, because I was investing in me. And so I tell anyone out there that wants to get started, take it from a fat person on the inside and someone who is a big kid. It can definitely work for you. Do it, bite the bullet, start it, and it'll change your life, because why not? Again, invest in your body. It's worth it.
Anthony, this has been so good. I really appreciate it. I'm sure there's some people out there right now that are going to be watching this that will be super inspired. Your transformation from before you even met me was amazing, and then now from that point to seeing you now, like I remember sitting down with you that first day and still you saying like, I just don't feel good about myself and I just don't have the body. And I'm like, this guy's in pretty good shape. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. But now from going to that to where I see you now, it's just amazing and it's just awesome. So
I mean, like I said, you really helped push me, and I moved to this new city here to San Francisco. I wanted to start something new, and I did it, and I have absolutely no regrets, and you really kind of just set me on that path. So I'm feeling good.
No stopping you now.
When did we stop? It was months ago. It was June.
We stopped in June. We stopped in the beginning of June.
Here we are, October, and I'm still kicking it. I'm still doing it, and so it's stuck.
That's
like I said,
awesome.
No one should get a trainer if they want just for their wedding. It's going to be for a lifelong thing. It's a life change. So yeah, you did it. You did a good job. I'm saying it.
Well, you did a better one. Well, thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate this.
Of course, anytime.
I want to send a huge thank you out to my client, Anthony, for doing this interview. Thank you again, Anthony. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for being open, for being honest, for going deep with me, for giving all those extreme details about your psychology, your mentality, what you were thinking, what you had to go through to get your six-pack. It was incredible. It was powerful. It was vulnerable, emotional at times. It was a roller coaster. Thank you again so much for doing this. And thank you, honestly, for shining a light on a number of topics that a lot of people don't like to talk about. The stuff about the skin and the surgery and how you recovered from that, and the struggle to deal with those feelings, and then how you overcame all of that, how you made your six-pack transformation, and the willpower and the discipline that it took in order to overcome so many obstacles and finally break through to that next level with your physique. It's an incredible ride. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, I'd love to hear some of your takeaways. What was something that you got from this interview that you're going to take away that you can apply today, tomorrow, even this week to help change your life, to make your no-pack to six-pack transformation? So tell me in the comments, send me an email, send me a message on social media. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what you liked and what you took away from this interview and what you're going to take action on to actually make your dreams become a reality. Here are a few things that I took away from this interview. The first being sacrifice. Sacrifice is something that people tend to overlook or just not talk about. And again, Anthony went deep and was very vulnerable and very open and honest on this. He really laid it out, what he had to give up in order to get six-pack abs, how he had to come home and watch his partner eating pizza and candy, and how much of a struggle that was, and how he had to say no and not do those things. He talked a little bit about how he had to hit the gym extra hard, the pain in his legs, the pain that he had to endure in his body when he was cursing my name, as he said. It absolutely was not easy. He had to sacrifice a lot to get where he wanted to go. But as he said, it was all worth it in the end. The compliments, the confidence, being able to take his shirt off, worry-free, not have to stress about things, no anxiety. Like, it was all worth it in the end, but it was tough. There was a lot of sacrifice involved, and I'm really glad that he shined a light on that. Because you got to ask yourself, if you want six-pack abs, if you want to pack on 10 pounds of muscle, if you want to be a millionaire, whatever it is that you want to do in this lifetime, you have to ask yourself one key question, and this is something that so many people don't talk about. It's, what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want? Six-pack success isn't for everybody. You have to ask yourself, is it for you? Another thing I took away from this interview, and that comes up time and time again, it's a theme through all these interviews, is the idea that you take it one day at a time, but you also still look at that one day as a link in the chain to your goal. So what I mean by that is Anthony talked about how sometimes he did screw up on his diet, or if he missed a workout or did something else, he just took it one day at a time and he picked up the next day right where he left off. He didn't try to make up for it and do some crazy kind of extra gnarly workout. He didn't try to starve himself the next day. He just got right back on the train. Now, he also talked about how each day he looked at every single meal, every single workout as another step closer towards his goal. So you have to take each day one at a time as like its own challenge, but then you also have to look at each day and its larger role that it plays towards your bigger goals. So that's the next thing I took away from this interview. And again, that's something that comes up time and time again throughout these client success stories. So that's something you really want to take note of, and you want to make sure that you can implement that with your transformation. Another thing I took away from this interview was that everybody's a little bit different and everybody has a different past. Some of the things that we had to do with Anthony to be successful, some of the weaknesses that he had and the obstacles we had to overcome with using a longer fasting period and a very short, small eating window, some of those things were a bit more extreme than they need to be for other clients. So because of his past and his history, those are things that we knew were going to be roadblocks, so we made sure we overcame those. But your story might be different. You might not have the past that's similar to his. You might not have some of the same weaknesses that he had. So you might not have to take it to that level, to those lengths to be successful. Now, I firmly believe that there is a system to getting a six-pack, and that I've mastered that system. There is a very systematic way to do this, but that system also sometimes requires a little nuance. That's going to be based on your personality, based on your lifestyle, and of course, based on your past history. So that is where the sort of extreme nature of the program came in for Anthony. We needed to do that for him. But not everybody needs to go to those levels to get a six-pack. And the last thing that I took away from this interview was the power of commitment. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. Talks about making a decision and how you can change your life in an instant. It doesn't take days, weeks, years, months. It doesn't take any of that. You could literally change it like that. Once you decide to make a change, then everything else can be different at that moment. And I'm sure we've all met people who in an instant decided they were going to never drink again or never smoke again, or they were going to make a transformation and lose a bunch of weight, and they did it. In this case, Anthony decided not only he was going to lose that weight, but that he was going to get a six-pack. And you know what? He did it. And he talked several times about making that decision and being very firm in that decision, and also having the mindset that he was committed 110% to making it happen and doing whatever it took, whether it was a 23-hour fast or a 24-hour fast, whatever it took, he was willing to do it to get the result that he wanted. There's something very powerful about that. So that was the last takeaway I had, the power of commitment. So you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice to get six-pack abs or to get the body of your dreams? What are you willing to give up? And then also, are you 100% committed? Are you committed to doing whatever it takes in order to get the results? I'd love to hear your answers to those questions. So again, share in the comments, send me a message, send me an email. Just let me know what your answers are to those questions, and again, what you took away from this interview and what you're going to apply and take action on to change your life. I'm Jackson. I'll see you later.